Nightfall has always been a sacred threshold. Across cultures and centuries, it marks the moment when the outer world quiets down and the inner world becomes louder. Monks understood this long before modern psychology put words to it. And there is one bedtime ritual they almost never skip, not because it's symbolic, but because it fundamentally reshapes the mind before sleep. Most people go to bed carrying the entire day with them. Conversations replaying. Regrets looping. Anxiety about tomorrow quietly stealing rest. The body lies down, but the mind stays standing. Monks notice something crucial: sleep doesn't reset the mind if the mind is still fragmented. So instead of collapsing into bed exhausted, they prepare themselves to enter sleep consciously. This ritual begins with intentional slowing. Not sleep hygiene, not productivity tricks, slowing as an act of awareness. Monks do not rush the final hour of the day. They treat it as a closing ceremony. Lights soften. Movements become deliberate. Speech reduces or stops entirely. Silence is not forced, but welcomed. Because whatever you fall asleep with is often what you wake up as. There is a powerful example that illustrates this. Imagine two people with equally demanding days. One scrolls until their eyes close, letting other people's thoughts, fears, and opinions be the last thing absorbed. The other sits quietly for 10 minutes, breathing slowly, reviewing the day without judgment, then letting it go. They both sleep, but only one of them rests. Monks realized that rest is not about duration. It's about what the mind is holding when consciousness fades. The core of this ritual is something deceptively simple: deliberate mental closure. Before sleep, monks mentally review the day, not to criticize, not to relive, but to complete it. They acknowledge moments of distraction, moments of clarity, moments of kindness, and moments of failure with the same calm attention. Nothing is pushed away. Nothing is justified. Everything is seen, then released. Why does this matter? Because unresolved attention leaks into sleep. Neuroscience now confirms what monks observed intuitively: the brain continues processing emotional residue overnight. If the residue is chaotic, sleep becomes shallow. If it is coherent, sleep becomes restorative. This is why monks pair reflection with breath. Slow, rhythmic breathing signals safety to the nervous system. It tells the body, the day is over. You can stop protecting. Over time, this trains the mind to associate nighttime not with rumination, but with surrender, and surrender is not weakness, it is intelligence. You cannot force rest. You must allow it. There's another detail most people miss. Monks do not end the day thinking about what they want. They end it by acknowledging what was enough. Enough effort. Enough learning. Enough presence, even if imperfect. This subtle shift dissolves the hunger that keeps the mind awake. Want creates tension. Sufficiency creates peace. If you've ever fallen asleep easily on days where you felt genuinely aligned, even if tired, you felt this effect. The ritual simply makes it consistent. If this is already shifting how you think about sleep, take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe and leave a like. It allows content like this to keep reaching people who are quietly searching for deeper rest, not just better sleep. This ritual isn't about monks living in caves or monasteries. It's about reclaiming the transition between day and night. Most people treat bedtime like an afterthought. Monks treat it like a doorway, and what you bring through that doorway determines far more than how you sleep. What happens next in this ritual is where most people instinctively resist, and where its real power lies. Monks deliberately empty the mind before sleep, not by suppressing thoughts, but by allowing them to pass without engagement. This is very different from distraction. Distraction replaces one thought with another. This practice releases thought altogether. Picture the mind like a bowl of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, scrolling, thinking, worrying, it never clears. But if you set it down and stop interfering, the mud settles naturally. Monks learned that the mind works the same way. You don't clean it by force. You clean it by stillness. This is why they sit or lie down and observe the breath without trying to control it. They notice the inhale, the pause, the exhale. When thoughts arise, they are neither followed nor fought. A memory surfaces, noticed. A concern appears, noticed. Then released. Over time, the mind learns that it does not need to solve anything right now. That permission is what relaxes it. A modern example makes this clearer. Think of how often people say, "I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep." The body is tired, yet the mind is overstimulated. Not because the day was hard, but because nothing was mentally closed. Unfinished conversations. Imagined futures. Hypothetical outcomes. The brain is still on duty. Monks end that duty consciously. Another key part of the ritual is intention, not goals, not desires, but orientation. Before sleep, monks gently place the mind in a direction of clarity or compassion. Sometimes it's a simple phrase. Sometimes it's a feeling. The purpose is not manifestation. It's coherence. When the mind falls asleep with coherence, it wakes with stability. This explains why monks often wake early without alarms, without grogginess. Their sleep is not heavy, it is deep. Heavy sleep comes from exhaustion. Deep sleep comes from resolution. There's also a subtle emotional component. Monks do not go to bed carrying resentment. If conflict occurred during the day, they don't replay it endlessly. They acknowledge it, recognize their role, and let the emotional charge soften. Not because the issue is solved, but because carrying it into sleep would poison the mind overnight. Most people underestimate how much emotional residue they bring to bed. That residue becomes the tone of the next day. You wake up irritated without knowing why. Heavy without explanation. Monks understood that bedtime is not the end of the day, it's the beginning of tomorrow. And here's something striking, this ritual takes very little time. Often 10 to 15 minutes. The difficulty is not duration. It's honesty. Sitting with yourself without stimulation exposes patterns you've learned to avoid. But once you move through that discomfort, what follows is clarity. If you've ever experienced falling asleep after a sincere conversation, a moment of truth, or a deep sense of acceptance, you already know this feeling. The ritual doesn't create peace. It removes what blocks it. If this part of the ritual is resonating with you, this is a good moment to pause and support the channel. Leave a like and subscribe. It helps ensure this kind of content continues to exist in a world that rarely slows down. There's one more layer to this practice, one that most people overlook entirely. And it may be the reason monks protect this ritual no matter how busy the day has been. The final layer of this ritual is the one that transforms sleep from a biological necessity into a mental reset. Before allowing themselves to fully drift into rest, monks consciously release their identity for the night. Titles, roles, responsibilities, and even self-images are set down. They do not go to sleep as teachers, students, or caretakers. They go to sleep as awareness itself. This may sound abstract, but its impact is deeply practical. Most mental tension comes from constantly holding a version of yourself together. The responsible one. The strong one. The one who has to figure everything out. Carrying that identity into sleep keeps the nervous system alert. Monks understood that true rest requires temporary disidentification. There's a simple modern parallel. Think about how different sleep feels on a vacation night compared to a work night. Not because the bed is better, but because your identity is lighter. You're not rehearsing who you need to be tomorrow. The monk's ritual recreates that lightness every night, regardless of circumstance. They do this by gently reminding themselves, for the next few hours, nothing is required of me. No improvement. No planning. No fixing. No performance. This internal permission is profound. It tells the mind that it can finally stand down, and when the mind stands down, something remarkable happens. Intuition reorganizes itself. Emotional knots loosen. Perspectives shift without effort. This is why monks often describe sleep not as unconsciousness, but as integration. The mind finishes what it couldn't complete during the day. Importantly, this ritual is not rigid. It adapts. Some nights require more time. Some nights less. But it is never skipped, because monks understand a truth most people learn too late. How you end the day determines how you meet life tomorrow. You don't need robes, incense, or a monastery to practice this. You need willingness. Willingness to be quiet. Willingness to be honest. Willingness to let go, Just for the night, start small. 10 minutes before bed, reduce stimulation. Sit or lie down. Breathe. Review the day without judgment. Release what you can't change. Acknowledge what was enough. Then mentally step out of your roles. Let sleep come to you, instead of chasing it. If this message has helped you see sleep differently, this is the final moment to support the channel. Subscribe and leave a like. It signals that content focused on depth, awareness, and genuine well-being still matters. Sleep is not just rest for the body. It is nourishment for the mind. And the monks never skip this ritual because they understand something most people forget: a peaceful life begins the night before.